So, we are finally live, and good morning, good evening, and good afternoon for everybody who has joined us today. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Bogdan. I'm the marketing lead of the INSART company, and this is the first event since a pretty long period of time past of the Smart Club and Smart Talks for smart people. Thanks everybody for joining. Today we have a bunch of pretty awesome speakers who have prepared their lectures for you, who will be able to answer your questions. And if you want to dive in deeper into the IT world and find out more about a bunch of different things happening around, feel free to pin your questions into the public chat. So the topic of today's Smart Club is the resiliency and the process of how the IT industry works during such a hard times. Unfortunately, lots of the things happening all around. We are preparing for the recession, the wars are happening, and much more bad things. And IT industry is something that allows us to keep and to stay strong. And anyway, there are lots of different things happening all around that we have to be ready for and to prepare. According to the agenda of today's event, we will have two speakers. So we will have two separate topics which will unveil the current idea of resiliency and the IT industry working in such a hard times in a pretty awesome and interesting way from both sides of the medal. But before we get started, I just want to make a 1 minute of praise for the INSART company who have made an organizement of all these meetings and all these events. So INSART company was established almost 30 years ago, providing the best fintech solutions all over the world for the best fintech companies. And our main goal is transforming the financial companies into the fintech unicorns, implementing the new solution development and technology ideas. You can find out more on the insart.com website. Contact us, ask for a quota or for a call, and we will be happy to help with any request you might have. And meanwhile, we are getting started, and I am pretty happy to introduce our first speaker. His name is Serhiy Ostapchuk, and today he will talk about a huge bunch of pretty awesome and interesting things, such as the employee lifecycle, the levels of employee maturity, interactions, common mistakes possibly being made, etc. But without the further introduction, Serhiy, thanks a lot for joining, and I'm passing the word to you, so feel free to start your lecture.
Thank you, Bogdan, and happy to be here. I'm really happy that we gathered today here.
Before you proceed, I'm sorry for interrupting, but can we double check the sound, because I believe that some of our streamers, I'm seeing the comments, they might not hear the sound. Can you say something?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. So sorry about that. I just got a message that some sound doesn't work. Anyway, let's proceed.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hopefully everything works fine now. Everyone can hear us, can see us, and again, I'm really happy to be here today and happy to see that the announced topic has aroused a certain amount of interest in your minds. And considering that the declared topic for today is the function of the IT industry in the conditions of volatility, it's safe to say that the volatility, the uncertainty, or whichever way you call it, it's always related to something unstable, to some unstable conditions. And such conditions are often quite a strength test for every system, for any kind of organization. Again, we can call it organization, we can call it a team, we can call it a company, depending on the context that we're in. But let's agree, for example, that for today, in the context of this event, we'll be referring at least to the team in general, since we're speaking, I hope we're speaking mostly to the managers today. But again, we might be calling it differently. We might be calling it system, organization, referring in any case to the team mostly. So yeah, the systems under unstable conditions, unstable times and stable conditions usually create non-standard problems. Yep, thanks for sharing. The unstable times and unstable conditions create non-standard problems that mostly require non-standard problems, and they require non-standard solutions or approaches, as we usually know. And that is true. That has always been true, and it always is true. But more often than not, the non-standard solutions do not work on their own. In case if your system or your structure or your organization is failing at some more basic levels, unfortunately. Because as we all know, the chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and any system, any structure, or any organization is as secure or as vulnerable as its least secure or most vulnerable element is. And therefore, I suggest that we take this proposition, this assumption, as the core idea for today's discussion, and assume that we will be like pushing off from this idea that any chain or any organization is as weak or as strong as the least strong or the most vulnerable element of this organization is. What I mean is that there are simple rules and simple things that need to be ensured in your organization or in your team. And no matter how good you're at figuring out some non-standard solutions, no matter how progressive or exquisite your solutions are at some higher levels, you might still fail, or your organization might still fail if you have those gaps, if you have those simple things that fail at some other levels. And if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong, as the Murphy's Law says, and it will go wrong at the most inappropriate time. So you might not notice that something is wrong with your basic levels when everything is good, when the conditions are favorable. But believe me, once you're in unfavorable conditions, those small things that are failing will arise right away and will make the mess for you. As managers, and we're speaking today as managers, we mostly look at our organizations or our teams from the process and people management perspective, usually, at least. And again, in the context of today's event, I would like that we speak and consider the things that I'll be speaking about from this process and people management perspective, and getting back to those simple things and simple rules that need to be ensured from this people and process management perspective. Those things are quite wide and quite numerous, and we unfortunately will not be able to talk about all of them today. But there's one thing that I think is very important, and I think is usually missed, especially when it comes to some critical states and some critical situations and conditions. That thing is the employee life cycle, because we always strive to streamline our processes when it comes to some critical situations, but sometimes we forget about the people, about the employees that we're working with, or the consultants that we engage to our teams. And this is something that may show up once you are in unfavorable conditions if you do not make sure that you have these employee life cycles arranged and streamlined while you're okay, while the conditions are still favorable. What actually is the employee life cycle? It's actually like a set of stages that every employee actually goes through at any company, at any organization. These stages, they characterize the behavior that the employees have, the skills, the needs, their interests, and sometimes even their motivation points during the work and during their life cycle at the company. There are actually 4 of them, and the employees go through these stages, or these stages evolve, we can call it like that, as the timeline or the experience of the employee in the company or at the position progresses. In other words, the longer the person or the employee is with the company or at a certain position, the more he or she progresses through these 4 stages that we're going to talk about today. We can actually characterize this as the path that an employee goes from being a complete newbie to being completely able to work independently on his or her position. When we say independently, we don't necessarily mean that this person or this employee does not require any sort of control from your side, any sort of involvement from your side as a manager. Of course, he does need the control, he does need your involvement, your attention, but the independence here means that the work is being done on a completely different level and a completely different level of your involvement is required. It's not about the time that you spent, it's about the type of the attention that you pay to the employee and the type of the interaction that you have with the employee. So yeah, let's start with the basic level, level 1, which is here represented as the newbie, but there's no certain naming for the levels. It's just the stages that we need to understand that they exist and which characteristics they have. The first level is usually, or we can safely say that always, the level that any employee starts with at any organization or at any position. Which means that whenever an employee, a person comes to a new company, he or she always gets to level 1, regardless of the experience, regardless of the skill level, regardless of the seniority level. There's always level 1 when you come to a new company, and it doesn't matter what you know or what you don't know. The reason for that is that you might be super experienced in your industry, in your field, in your industry, in your day-to-day work, let's call it like that, right? But you might not know how things go in this particular company. You might not know the internal rules. You might not know the internal procedures, processes, just the corporate culture, and so on. So you are still lacking the knowledge of the context that you're in right now, because this is something new for you, and this is something that you still need to learn. This is if we're looking from the employee perspective. If we're looking from the manager perspective, and we're dealing with such a person, it's basically the same thing, just we need to account that this person is not aware of some rules that we have here, in the team or in the organization in general, and that we need to pay additional attention to this person, involve additional control, and provide additional instructions. In other words, if we cut it short, this level can be named as simple instructions and control, meaning that the person at this level will require from you extra instructions or more detailed instructions as to how to do something, what to do in this or that situation, and more control from your side. This, as we said, this applies to any person, regardless of the seniority level, regardless of the experience. If we're speaking about some really newbie, like the person who doesn't even have a lot of experience, then everything comes clear here. The simple instructions are understandable. It is quite clear why we need them, because the person is not even new to the company, he's even new to this job. So we need to instruct him, we need to help him, we need to guide him. The same goes with the control, by the way. We need to include this control in order to be able to help the person understand whether he or she is doing everything right or he's doing something wrong, and he might not even notice that. On the other hand, if we're speaking about someone who is experienced and who is having a lot of, let's say, self-confidence, yeah, he's saying like, come on, I'm in this industry for like 10 years, I have a lot of experience, I know all this, have all the skills, I know all the theory, I know how to do it. I don't need your instructions, I don't need your control. Here we come to another question, or another point, is that it's not only about the person who needs the control and the instructions. It's about the company, the organization, the team, and you as a manager who represents it all. You as the manager and the company and the organization need this control for this new employee. because again, he might be experienced in something in his job, in his day-to-day duties, but he might not know all the nuances, all the small details of how it's arranged here in the new team, in the new company, or in the new role for this person. Another thing that we need to pay attention to is that it's not always about switching the company. It's sometimes even when a person is within the same company but gets promoted to a new role or to a new position and gets new responsibilities, the person goes back to level 1 always. Even if he or she was at level 3 or level 4, as we said, there's going to be 4 levels. Even at that case, being at level 4 and switching to a new role or a new position brings the person back to level 1. Why? Because, again, this is something new for the person. These are new responsibilities, new conditions, new context. He has never done this before. This is something new for the person. Therefore, he needs instructions, needs control to make sure that he succeeds and progresses as expected and does not break any rules, does not do any harm to the company, to the organization, to himself, and so on. So let's summarize what we have just discussed. Any employee at any level, at any point of his career or his professional path, whenever he or she comes to a new company or a new position, is always getting to level 1 and always need instructions and control. And there could be like 3 main reasons for that: lack of knowledge and skills in a particular domain or activity type, in case he has never done this before; lack of confidence in own capabilities, in case he has done it before, but he is in a new place, new team, new people around, new clients, new processes, and he knows how to do it, but he is still lacking some information, so he needs instructions and control. And the third reason for that would be a lack of knowledge of internal processes and rules, in case this is a new company, for example, and he doesn't know how it works, everything works here. You might have met such people, or maybe you have even been on this place, in this place before, when you're learning something new, for example, and there's someone who's guiding you or mentoring you, and you feel like you already know how to do it, or you may have even succeeded in doing this, but you still want someone to be around to control you, to just to sit. You say it like, hey, come on, I know how to do it. I did it before, but can you just sit next to me and please like take a look at what I'm doing to make sure I'm doing it right? I might not even make a mistake, but I just want someone to be here close to me and like give me a hand in case I need it. This is exactly what happens here with the experienced people who are at level 1, just in case you control that. There are also some timelines for the person to enter this level and to leave this level. And this is from 0 to 2 months in general, in average. 0 means from day 1 as the person joins the team, the company, or the new role. This is when the countdown starts and when the person enters the level. This is obvious. 2 months is the average expected time frames for the person to start moving or even move to the next level. It can take less time, it can take more time, depending on the person, on his personal characteristics and skills and abilities. It depends on how quickly you want the person to move to the next stage, or you want him to stay longer here and develop more skills at this level. It may depend on the industry that we're working in, on the internal rules and procedures and processes of the company. So there are a lot of aspects that influence this speed of switching to the next level. But in general, in average, it usually takes around 2 months, which magically coincides with the average length or duration of probation periods when a person comes to a new company. There are also symptoms that help us determine at each level, actually, symptoms that help determine at which level a person is, because sometimes it's not the person who joins the team, it's you who join a new team, and you need to determine, as a manager, you need to determine at which level this or that person is, because they entered or joined the team earlier than you, and you don't know how long they are here, how they perform. You don't know that yet, at least, and you need to figure out who's where. So there are certain symptoms, but with level 1, the symptoms are very simple. It's always whenever a person joins a new team, a new position, a new organization. There are also rules, or at least like advice on how you should, as a manager, you should communicate with people or with employees on level 1. The main idea is that the communication should be at the flat emotional level, which means that you are not supposed, at least at first, to engage into some motivational speeches, motivational talks, something not related to work and so on. It is advised to concentrate on communication with this person strictly within the work itself, the work procedures, adherence to the rules, the timelines, and so on. So the main purpose of the communication here is to instruct the person, control the person, help the person learn the new rules, the instructions, and help the person learn everything that is new to him or to her at this level and this position. Once this has been achieved by the employee, again with your help, of course, you will notice that the person is starting to act a little bit differently at some point. This could be the marker, this could be the symptom that the person is starting to move to the next level, to level 2. And at level 2, we have another like naming for this that we could say. It's the motivation, because this is, it doesn't mean that motivation is only important at this level, or that you only care about the motivation of your employee only at level 2. No, it's not like that. But this is something where the motivation begins to come forward, to get brought forward when you deal with your employee. This means that at this point, the employee already knows the rules, already knows and has the necessary skills. He doesn't need as many instructions as before. He doesn't need as much control as before. And the person starts to take up the tasks that show initiative, first of all, and take up the tasks that he might not be able to do before. He might not be able to do those tasks even now, but at least he shows motivation, and he shows interest in taking up those tasks. So he's no longer afraid to try something, to risk somewhere, and to take something more difficult, more challenging. Again, it doesn't always mean that the person will succeed, because the person still may lack some skills or understanding of the context, or understanding of the situation, knowledge of the rules, and so on. He might still lack that, but he will definitely try to show you his initiatives, his eagerness to try something independent, to work on something independently. And it is very important at this point for the manager to support this this idea, this eagerness, and this motivation, this initiative from the from the employee side. Support and encourage. This is the main idea, and that's why we call it like the motivation. As you can understand from the previous step, the age or the timelines for this level is 2 to 8 months. Again, this is very approximate and very, very personal. Some people could stick and stay at the first level for months, or even for years, or for their entire life. And sometimes it's even okay for some industries and for some types of work that require constant control. But we are speaking generally, and in general, this is something that doesn't happen to a lot of people. I mean, sticking to one single level, and sooner or later the person will move forward. So again, from level 1 to level 2, you would expect the person to move approximately sometime at the second, third month of their work. And you would expect them to stay there until 8 months, 10 months, sometimes a year, but that is a little bit too much. And the symptoms, how you can notice that a person is at level 2. As I said again, the person is ready to take up some new tasks. He asks more questions, meaning that at the first level, he would simply ask how to do it, and that's all. Just to understand the algorithm and understand the instruction and the sequence of actions. At level 2, the person would ask more questions like, why exactly I need to do this? Why exactly I need to act like this? What's the purpose? What's the reason? Why cannot I do differently if I get the same result? Or maybe I do not understand why I'm not getting the same result if I do it differently. So these are the questions that start appearing in the person's head, and he might start even announcing them. Be ready to, again, encourage, support these questions, answer these questions, because at this point, you no longer communicate with the person on that flat level, flat emotional level, as we said for the level 1. At this point, you can already start to have more motivational talks, to have more detailed talks with the person. And also you are trying, well, as it says here on the slide, it's like sell the company to, or the position to the employee, which means like build the loyalty of the employee towards the company itself or the position in particular. You also lower the control, and you also allow the person to take new tasks. And well, the new tasks, which is something challenging and difficult, still require the control, of course. But those tasks that have been in the person's responsibilities since level 1 can now require less control. You can allow first of all, you trust the person more. Second of all, you can allow the person to take some risks, learn on his or her own mistakes, if the situation, of course, allows that. So you show the person that you have more confidence in him or in her, and you, again, encourage and support his eagerness to try something new, to take up new tasks. After this, the person at some point will start showing, as we call it, symptoms of the next level, which at level 3 would be related to the responsibility, which means that the person is even more active at trying to take the tasks and do some things independently, taking responsibility, taking more high-risk tasks, more challenging tasks. He isn't just interested in less control for those regular tasks that he's been doing. He's more interested in new challenges, new achievements from him, and therefore you need to, again, to support and to encourage the person to do this. Even if you suggest something, even if it's not the initiative of the person to take up new tasks, you can suggest the person, you can offer him to take new responsibilities, new tasks, and the person willingly assumes that responsibility. This is a good sign. But sometimes, at some point, you can notice that the person is unwilling to take the new tasks or take the new responsibility, and this is something that is actually okay, because this can be misleading at some point, and it can mean that, well, at least some managers can think that, okay, he's not willing to take the responsibility, he's not ready for level 3 yet. So he might still be on level 2, but you need to distinguish for which reason the person is not willing to take that responsibility, because it could be simple avoidance of the responsibility, because not willing to be responsible for something else, to be accountable for something, just to get some easier life, let's call it like that. That could be a signal that the person is not yet at level 3. But in some cases, the person could be quite constructive about why he is not willing to take that responsibility, because he might be quite self-conscious about his abilities, his skills, and he understands that, okay, with my skills, with my level of maturity, with my level of experience and knowledge, I will not be able to fulfill the task at a high quality level, and I will probably fail, and this will lead to some unpleasant consequences for the team, for the organization in general. This unwillingness to take this responsibility actually shows that the person is responsible. Oddly enough, yeah, I know it sounds weird, but this unwillingness to take the responsibility actually shows the level of high responsibility, or the high level of responsibility of that person, because he is self-conscious, he understands that he is responsible for the result, and responsibly he refuses to do the task because he knows that the result will be negative. And from this point of view, and in this case, this is a good sign. And this is the sign of the maturity of the person, that he is mature enough to understand this, to realize this, and to announce this. Okay, let's talk about the time frames. For the time frame of this level, we expect the person to go through level 3 somewhere between the 8th and the 12th months of his work in a company or at a particular position. The symptoms for that could be, bringing it from what I've just said, is the person begins to show commitment to what he's doing. The person begins to show a good level of responsibility, or understanding of the sense of responsibility in his work. The person even starts to sell the company to other people, to other colleagues, the same way you used to sell it to the person at level 2, but building the loyalty for the person. This person you can even notice doing the same for other colleagues, for other employees, somewhere in the kitchen while they're talking, or some, like, they went to a smoking room and they're discussing some work situations, and that person would actually advocate for the company and would sell it and would promote it to others, and would therefore help building the loyalty in other employees' heads. So this is again a good sign. And last but not least, as we said, the willingness to assume responsibility is a great sign of the person being definitely at level 3 at this point. The communication approach with this person from the manager would be, first of all, by promoting the company, by supporting the person's eagerness to promote it to others. You build the attitude of the employee that we are a team, you are part of the team, you are important, and you are a valuable person here. This is the main idea, this is the main motivation that you address to the person in your communication. As for the control, there's much less control with this person, and you only try to interfere whenever you need to correct something, when you see that something is going wrong, or when you need to encourage the person. Like you see that the person is struggling with something, he doesn't actually need your help, he's doing everything right, or he's not doing it right yet, but you know that he will get there at some point. So you don't need to correct, you don't need to guide him, but you need to encourage him, you need to give him a little bit more of trust in himself to proceed, to progress, to succeed eventually. So this is the way you communicate in terms of the control with this person at this level. You have a lot of motivational talks, you have a lot of talks about something not related to the work itself. You can talk about the hobbies, you can talk about the family, anything good or bad that is happening outside of the company, outside of the office with this person. And of course, well, as I said, but I can repeat it again, marking, stressing out, emphasizing that the person is valuable, the person does a great job, if he does, of course. and encouraging and supporting the person from the motivational point of view. Once the person is fully developed at this level, let's call it like that, you can notice the person move to the next stage, which would be level 4, the last level. And at this level, the person is characterized as by independence, autonomy, and delegation. What we mean here is that at this point, the person is mature enough to do the work on their own. That level that we started with, that the aim of the whole maturity level cycles, bring the person from the, or lead the person from the newbie level to the full independence level. Again, I will repeat this. This is not about not controlling the person. It's not about leaving him alone and letting him do whatever he wants and bring whichever results he brings. Of course not. Of course you control, but you control differently. The employee already has that level of maturity to be able to cope with the issues that he might face. He already has that sense of responsibility at the high level in order to understand the consequences of what he's doing. He's able to cope with the complicated tasks and the significant tasks, and he's willing to do those tasks. He's not interested in some low-level, basic, non-interesting, non-challenging tasks. This is what motivates the person. This is what he likes to do at this level, at this stage. But he still needs control, but it's different control. When we speak about leaving the person alone, which is actually a good thing here, we mean that you do not interfere at all with your suggestions, with your corrections. You allow the person to do the job. And if the person needs help, believe me, he will come. At least if he is at this point, at this level, he will come and he will ask. You already can trust the person here, and otherwise he wouldn't be here. He wouldn't be at level 4. He would still be somewhere at level 3. But if you already trust the person with this level of tasks, with this level of autonomy, this means that the person either doesn't need your help or will come and ask for the help on their own. Moreover, as a manager, you usually might not even have that skills that this person have, because he has certain skills for the work that he does. You don't do the job that he does. You have your own management work, and you're good at your management work, but not at the work that the person does. So you might still be able to correct, to instruct, or even to lead by example at level 1, at level 2, or sometimes even at level 3, but most likely not at level 4, usually. Because at this point, the person is already highly skilled and even sometimes more skilled than you might be in the job that he is doing. He only needs your ability to give the person that independence, that autonomy, and delegate some responsibilities to him. And delegate means you give the person the right to do something, you give the person the tools to do something, and you give the person the responsibility for the result. Speaking of the time frames of the age for this level, it's usually over a year in with a company, or over a year in a position. The symptoms by which you can notice that the person is already at level 4 is, first of all, the level of his or her performance, his work experience, his results, and of course his ability and willingness to assume responsibility for significant, complicated tasks. The communication is also pretty similar to what's at level 3 in terms of motivation, in terms of stressing out and emphasizing the value of the person for the organization, stressing out that you are part of the team, important, and so on. But the main task for the manager here in terms of the communication, of course, is making sure that the manager does not miss or ignore that willingness and that readiness to take up something important, take up something significant in terms of the tasks by this person, because otherwise the person will get demotivated easily. If the person understands that at this level he has already reached quite a big heights of skillfulness, let's call it like that. Yeah, so the high level of ability to do something serious, and the only way to demonstrate this to evolve further is to take up new, more significant, more complicated tasks. And if you miss this, the person might get demotivated because he won't be able to apply his knowledge, his skills, his abilities. And again, I'll repeat as I said it before, at the communication level, this hint, the suggestion, and the advice is to leave the person alone, but again, not in terms of the control, not in terms of the like absence of interest in what the person is doing, but in terms of leave the person alone by trusting the person to do his job and to bring the result, and trusting him that he will provide you with the result. You still use the control just like to have those milestones if we're speaking about reaching some goals, or making sure that you both understand the expected results and the criteria for reaching those results in the same way, but you do not impose your vision how this should be reached, how this should be fulfilled, and so on. I could speak more about this, but we do have some time limits, and we do have the time dedicated for your questions. So you might cover those things that I was going to say more. You might cover them in your questions. Therefore, I invite you to ask your questions. I'll be happy to answer them.
Actually, we have a handful of different questions. So, Sergey, thanks a lot for your lecture.
Great.
It's really awesome. And I'll be going through questions one by one. You still have a chance, for those who are viewing us, you still have a chance to ask something else. But I will go from the very beginning to the last one. So, Arena is asking, who is responsible for the mistakes of an employee on level 1, the employee or the manager or mentor?
They both are, of course, because any employee has his own level of responsibility, has his own accountability for the result of the work that he is doing. The manager, of course, has his like area of responsibility. If he missed the control at some point, if he missed the instructions at some point, did not provide the necessary instructions, did not notice, if we're speaking again about the first level, of course, did not notice the need of the employee in those instructions, or else did not control properly, then of course this is the responsibility of the manager. But again, I am the person who is inclined to believe that there's always responsibility shared between at least two sides, if there are two sides of a process. So if there's an employee and there's a manager, the responsibility for the result is always shared between them. Good result, a bad result, it's always the result of their mutual work.
Right, sounds good. We have another one question from Irina. So, is it possible that the employee does not take any responsibility and is always reasonable in explaining why he can't take responsibility? And will this mean that the employee should not yet be on level 3? So technically, that's the vice versa to the previous question.
Yeah. Well, this is partly related to what I started saying about when speaking about the level 3. When the person or employee does not take any responsibility, it could be like two reasons for that. There could be two reasons for that. Either the person is avoiding responsibility because that's the type of character he has, that the type of person he is. He's not. He doesn't like the responsibility, and this is not a mature approach at all. In this case, yes, the person should not be yet on level 3. Or another reason could be like the opposite reason for that could be that the person realizes the consequences, clearly sees and understands his abilities and his skills level and so on, and understands that he is not able to cope with this level of complexity at this point, and that's why he's not willing to accept the responsibility. In this case, this represents the good maturity level, and in this case, the person I think should be considered as level 3.
Okay, I'll be skipping some questions as long as they're pretty repetitive, and thanks a lot for providing the detailed answers. So another question we have from Inna. So is it possible that when being promoted to another role, an employee does not drop back to level 1, but on the contrary moves one level up and remains at the same level still?
Well, according to this, it's safe to say that it's a theory anyway about the levels. So according to this theory, no, it's not possible. In any case, whenever you move to a new position, you always drop back to level 1. But the question is, how quickly will you progress back to those levels where you left off? You might be a quick learner, or you might have a lot of already developed skills that will help you move quicker to the next level. So yeah, the short answer is no, it's not possible. You will always drop back. A longer answer would be that you can always consider your person from multiple angles, and you don't have to consider only like the person in a position or in a role. You can consider, especially when it comes to promoting a person to a new role, that person brings all his skills, already developed skills, to this new role. So when you're promoting the person to a new role, but you know that part of his responsibilities will be the same as in the previous role, in terms of those responsibilities, he could still remain at level 3 or level 4, for example. But in terms of the new responsibilities that he has just got, he would be considered as level 1. But if you sum up all together, he will start with level 1 and then progress faster or slower depending on the consequences.
Okay, got it. Another question we have here is basically a request to give more examples on how different communication approaches at different levels can help or harm to the people.
An example would be, for example, if we are speaking that you have to show more control and provide more instructions to a person, to an employee at level 1, and you ignore the rule that this is only applicable to level 1 and sometimes to level 2. You ignore this rule and you bring this approach to level 3 or level 4. This can actually harm the employee, the result of the work, the motivation of the work of the employee, and to your relationships with this person. Because imagine a person who knows how to do things. He knows he's good at it. And at some point, suddenly, you just come to the person and start instructing him and explaining him basic things that he has known for years. This would at least look weird to the person, or at most would show that to the person that you do not trust him. And people don't like when they are not trusted. They get demotivated. They try to avoid communication with such people who don't trust them, or who show that they're incompetent, or trying to show that they are incompetent. So this would actually harm your relationships and motivation of the person. This is an example of harming.
So just the search of the golden middle.
Yep.
Okay. And another question we have, so if the employee did the same tasks in the company earlier and now returns to them back, does it still mean that he or she still goes to level 1 or not?
As I understand, it's within the same company. He was doing something, then he switched to some other responsibilities inside the same company, and then again within the same company goes back to previous responsibilities. If I understand the question correctly, then I'm going to answer about this example. This is like a good example, actually. It's not that often. Therefore, I don't think, at least I don't have an exact answer that would be 100% accurate, but I can assume that it depends on how long the person has been in different responsibilities, how different those responsibilities and how much the rules and the processes changed for those responsibilities while he was doing the other ones. He might roll back and, for example, nothing changed, nor in his skills, nor in his in the process of the work. In this case, he's just going back from where he left off. In this case, he's not getting back to level 1. But if something changed in the processes, in the team, in the industry, or he just lost his skills for some reason because he didn't have the practice and he lost the skill, this happens. In this case, yes, he might drop back to level 1. Again, this is the manager's responsibility to see all these changes and to notice them.
Okay, sounds good. Another question here is that though it's not really defined that these levels somehow affected the current situation of volatility, but the question is, are they, and what changed in this area for the last year, depending on volatility situation?
Let me try to understand the question again. So, not sure that these levels somehow affected by current situation. No, they are not affected. That's what I actually started with. They are not affected by the situation of volatility, but they, once you are in this situation of volatility, once you are in an unstable situation, and if you have gaps in this area, meaning that you do not have well-developed relationships with each level of the employee, and you do not communicate properly, you do not instruct properly, you do not motivate properly, and when you get to unstable or uncertain conditions, or these conditions of volatility or any other instability, at least your attention will be distracted. Your attention will be drawn to some more vivid problems, and you might pay even less attention to your relationship with the team. And if you do not have this area of your work stabilized, this is where things will go wrong without your attention. And this is what I was talking about. So it's not directly related to volatility, but it means that that's what I say. If this is like a weak link in your chain, and once you stop paying attention to this in order to go and deal with other problems, this point will break.
Okay, totally makes sense. Yeah. Thanks for the thorough explanation. Before we proceed, just a moment of appreciation. So we have a bunch of different comments thanking you for the interesting stuff. One of our viewers is saying that after this, it's a perfect time to ask the manager about what level he is. So anyway, thanks a lot for your really interesting lecture. That was really awesome. For those who are viewing us, and in case you will still get any questions to Sergey, feel free to send them as the comments to the video recording or to this live stream, and we will pass them, and we will try to deliver the answers to you even after the Smart Club ends up. Sergey, thanks a lot for your time. Thanks a lot for your participation. That was a really awesome lecture. So thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
And now we are moving next to the next topic and to the second part of our Smart Club and Smart Talks, because as I have said at the very beginning of the agenda, we have several interesting lectures planned for today. So the next guest we have here is Alexander Sirostan, and he will talk a little bit more about the IT industry itself being changeable under the conditions of volatility. So he will talk a little bit more about what things are changing, what goes wrong and what goes right, etc., and what can be changed here as well. So let us invite Alexander to the station, and thanks a lot for joining. And yeah, I'm giving the word to you. So if we start, I believe that's going to be pretty interesting.
Yes, thank you, Bogdan. And so, hello everyone who joined us today. I'm really appreciated to be involved in such an interesting event like Smart Club. Thanks INSART for the invitation and everyone who are attendees here. Yeah, Smart Club is back, so we are here today, and I think it's not the best time for the key industry in the whole world. But for my thoughts, it's the right opportunity to help experts, companies to find support in events like Smart Club. So I'm here to present such an interesting scene today. connected with the project manager work under conditions of volatility. So nowadays, it's a theme of how about to stay alive when everywhere crisis, recession in US, wars, COVID still alive, and etc. Today we will discuss some topics and life hacks, how to survive and even enhance the conditions when you are in house. So I think my choice on the team wasn't mistake. So let's start. First of all, let me introduce myself. So my name is Alex Yerstan. I'm experienced project manager, having been working in IT industry for more than 5 years. More than 12 projects already of different scale and domain are under my belt. The main domains I worked were fintech startups and SaaS solutions. Also, I had an experience in launching my own community marketplace startup. I worked both with outsourcing and product teams, managed cross-functional teams up to 40 people, has an agile certification from Atlassian, some certifications from Sigma Bells, and now I'm studying for getting the MBA degree. And also, I was involved as a mentor and speaker in Nest, USB, Startup Kaizen, Startup Weeks, and etc. So for today, we have not a big agenda, but let's go through it. So today we will talk about some topics connected with how to stay alive, survive, and even to enhance the conditions for project management after under the conditions of volatility and changing environment. Especially, we will talk about what is the conditions of volatility is, how it depends and how it involves on the project management and on IT outsourcing industry at all. We will talk about who is PM, his position roles, responsibilities in IT. We will talk about why every project needs a PM. So it's really an interesting thing. I will stay some longer on the topics. Also, we'll talk about the main question for today. It's how PM could save and even earn money for a project and for a company and even for a client. And at the last of that lecture, we'll talk about how to even to sell the PM to every project and how to find the benefits for the client to add the PM for every project. So yeah, let's start. The first thing is to discuss what the condition of volatility is it. So what is it connected with? So in our news environment in the past 5-6 months, at least, we probably heard all about how we are going into the recession. But what does it mean for IT outsourcing? Will the current economic situation affect on IT outsourcing industry? The short answer is, for me, we don't know, but the long answer is it depends on the industry and on the company size, because for some companies and industries, it's a fault, like in recession, we need to reduce some costs and so on. And for some companies, it's a big opportunity. So let's talk about volatility. It's bad or good? Let's define, is a volatility condition like recession is good or bad for IT outsourcing industry at all? Let's start from, for example, IT outsourcing industry have been growing at rapid rate for at least 5-6 years past. The recession had slowed this growth, but it still continued to grow, but with some shorter speed. The recession has caused the outsourcing industry to change its focus. However, it also depends on outsourcing company size. As I told you previously, the outsourcing industry is still experiencing growth, but in average a slower rate than before. Besides changing their focus, many outsourcing companies are also looked for ways to control costs while they wait out the recession. As for me, volatility time, it's a time of opportunities for every market players in IT outsource. You just need to find out your special recipe to contact the new customers and to find the pain points that customers now facing with. So my opinion, and I will try to provide some proofs of my opinion that the recession is the best time for IT outsourcing and for outsourcing industry at all. So why is it, and why it's my thoughts is connected with it? It's first of all the benefits for every business that could expect by IT outsourcing during the recession period is connected with, first of all, the finance benefit like enabling cost savings. So despite the outsources may say, since a business is measured in terms of money earned and money saved, like in every, for example, project, like in every business and so on. So during time of recession, when your revenue starts getting impacted, your business cannot afford to spend as it has always done. Outsourcing and IT outsourcing gives your company the leverage to reduce costs. The second thing is the recruitment. So it's flexibility in resources and working with the people. So by providing and by getting the services of IT outsourcing, the companies could create the flexibility in resourcing. In IT industry, the work power is often the biggest cost of item on income statement. So when the push comes to reduce costs, every head of company, every stakeholder often cannot avoid laying off staff in order to make a depth in work power costs. It's the most effective, yet perhaps least popular of all strategies. IT outsourcing, for example, like an INSART company, offers the flexibility to ramp resources up and down as long as defined conditions are being met. A company already outsourcing at least some of its operations, like for example, like DevOps or design, or just support team or production team, has the flexibility to reduce the outsourcing partner support headcount. And this has a beneficial impact on costs without laying employees off, without reducing your company needs, and without cutting the temps of your production. Also, the last but not least thing, it's a people management. It's reducing burnout and errors in the team. So it's, for example, laying off staff also means that remaining employees, including like leaders, team leaders, like management team stakeholders, might take on more and more responsibility on them when they're reducing some staff from their team. While this is a good short-term strategy to reduce some team and cover it by personal, not delegating it to someone, it can lead to burnout of this lead team over time, as well as errors creeping into the work. This approach adds to cost and negates the regional benefits of staff reduction. The ability to rely on an outsourcer talent pool can keep your company insulated from this harmful side effect. For example, you keep your main office, your head office in the US, and the US is a recession, you could outsource your team from another country, from where is for now is more stable people resource, and you could change your main team you are used by team in outsourcing team. And yeah, one more thing I didn't add to a slide, it's working with dollar value. So it's during all the global recessions, it has been witnesses that supply and geography currency trends to depreciate against the dollar. This enables the IT outsourcer to get more service per dollar of spending. We should know also on that point, like providing more value for every dollar, that this benefit is limited to offshore engagements. So yeah, for the point of what is volatility and how its effects on all the IT outsourcing industry we spoke. So let's move forward to the next block of our speech to the project manager. Yeah. So the main question for now is who is project manager is, because not much clients understand exactly why do project need a project manager, who is project manager, what is his roles, responsibilities, and so on, because many of tasks which a project manager doing, you couldn't touch, you couldn't see. So, for example, a developer doing the code, you could touch the code, you could see like code working, design, trying to do mockups, some designs, prototypes. You could also touch this. But for project manager work, yeah, there is some documentation, and maybe that's all. You couldn't touch the work of project manager, but the project manager is the center of working team. So let's start for that block. First of all, a project manager is the main engine of and working mechanism of the service delivery life cycle. To define exactly what the PM role is, we need to define the flow, how the service delivery works. So on that slide, we could see, not in a high quality, but anyway, we could see the picture of service delivery flow. So let's stay in the picture and go through it. First of all, the first stage, the project manager is connected with the client and with the project, is a pre-sale stage, where salesmen trying to sell the services of IT company. On that stage, PM connects that process and trying to help the salesman working on the pre-sale stage to sell all the expertise the company has and to attract the client to that vendor, to that IT outsourcing company. Second stage, where we meet and agreed with an agreement to work with, we go into delivery stage to a delivery definition, where we start working on collecting all the requirements from the clients, collecting all the pain points, all the desires or the needs of his business and the stakeholder who is connected and who is representing the clients and the account at all. So on that stage, we are collecting all the deliverables and the PM on that stage helping all the team like to organize that process to translate the business language to a business language, technical language to a business language, and vice versa, and so on. On that stage, he is connecting with a delivery team, with a client, with a company, and trying to organize the process. As the next stage, when all the requirements are collected, when we created all the, for example, feature background list, we described all the features that clients need. For that stage, we are starting the development phase, where the project manager has a main role to organize that process, to meet all the deadlines, meet all the costs, and to organize communication within the clients and the vendor team, and to deliver all the results, all the solutions, all the technical solutions that company and developing team will create. The next stage is like not a last stage, but it's a main stage, like a delivery event, where we trying to find maybe some more opportunities to extend this account, not to finish all the delivery life cycle. On that stage, we are trying to onboard all the clients to the system we created, to help them to understand how it's working, and to trying to find some more opportunities to extend this account, to extend the delivery lifecycle, and to find some more opportunities of collaboration with the client. And the last stage, it's a feedback and support. Like when we implemented all the solutions for the client, we are project manager are trying to be always in connect with the client, trying to help him to work with all the feedback that we have from a working product, and to support it like on the production, trying to fix some minor issues. So yeah, and going forward to the PM role description. So project manager is a term without one meaning, for my understanding. If we will collect all the variants, we will make the decision. For example, like it's a manager who should organize the process and manage it. In the proper books and guides, we could define really clear described PM role. For example, you could see the description from for a Scrum Master, but as for me, project manager also should be like a Scrum Master in every team. So let's go through all the points for the points. First of all, it's keep the team organized, on track, and focused on the what matters. Second, it's a serve as a bridge between product management and development. In that case, like in IT outsourcing on a product company, product management, it will be like a stakeholder from a client side, like a product owner or someone who will represent the client's needs and client account. The third thing, it's a clear obstacle and protect the team from distractions. And the last one, it's a lead through influence and credibility. Yeah, it's like, for example, a wonderful explanation of a PM role, of a Scrum Master role, yeah. But in real life, we see something like a different picture. So in real life, all is not such critical and romantical. As for my personal opinion, it's quite wide bird term for project manager, and we could define exactly, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4 points for a project manager in every project, in every company. So for project manager, everyone can translate it by his own thoughts. So many people, so many minds. But for me, project manager, it's one strong concept. For me, it's like a sweat that could urgently react on every question 25 days, 25 hours, 8 days a week, to make the commitment result meet described deadlines, quality, and budget. It's like for a project management triangle. We will talk about it a little bit later. So a PM, as for me, it's like mother of a project who is always care of a dev team. It's a business consultant for a client who is always trying to answer all the unrelated questions and devoted, and also it's for a company, it's a devoted soldier who is always trying to be in a good shape and always trying to be involved on every process in the company to attract more customers or to extend existing accounts that he has. So for PM, it's also three roles, yeah, like a mother for a project team, like a business consultant for a client, and like a devoted soldier for a company. So PM should know all the sides, all the service delivery, all the business analysis of the project architecture, design, technical questions, testing, and a lot of more. Like it's a perfect PM, yeah, and also will be accountable for the account management of the also communication with the client and all the extending things of account and solving all the problems that we meet in account. So it's like describing the project managers that we already have in INSART, and it's a really undefined PM. Like in my opinion, in my description, it's a really unified soldier who could help company make more money, help client make more money, and help team make more money. So it's a engine for all the pushes, all the work, all the power of the service delivery flow. Also, the perfect PM, it's a real leader that has an authority and respect in a team, in addition to friendship relation inside the project. It's a person with a strong communication skills who could solve every situation that could meet in a project and find an answer for every question from every side, for example, from team member, from a client, from a company, if the stakeholder from company is going to to ask you something. And first of all, to unify it, it's a PM, it's a leader. It's a person who is also fights with the team on the battleground, not only sits in a high office in a white collar, so it's also a soldier on a battleground of developing all the solution for clients' needs. So yeah, and to unify some words I've told you previously, it's a triangle of project manager. In every Uncle we could see the site that the project manager should manage, and must manage. It's a budget, estimation, and quality. In that case, you should, like as a PM, you should manage every site to meet good deadlines, not to go over the budget, and to meet the high quality of production. So if we have less budget for a project, it could depends and impact on estimation or on the quality, or for example, we don't meet the deadlines, it could impact on a budget. We should to increase the budget to meet the exact deadlines, or if we don't increase the budget, we don't meet the high quality as we planned in the current deadlines. So it's a triangle that works only when the formula is working. So when the budget meet deadlines and meets the quality. If one side is going under the planned fact, the other side is also going under. So you couldn't make the project with a little budget, with a small estimation, for example, for 3 days, and with high quality. One of the sides not work in that way. Okay, let's move forward. The next thing and the next topic I would like to discuss, it's every project needs a PM. And it's not a popular decision. It's not a popular thought because there is a problem. In non-IT sphere, for example, in the sphere of our clients, in my experience, I heard some opinions that PM is not needed for the project. The client couldn't see exactly the result of PM work, and they think that PM is not needed. As I described previously, the PM is trying to serve all the project work, to organize it, and so on, and clients don't see the result of PM work. For example, developer produces code, as I told, designers mockups, prototypes, create, for example, test cases. It's something you could touch, and bugs. It's very important, so you could see the result of QA working. But PM isn't producing something. So, and clients in many cases think that PM is not needed. Also, the opinion is actual for volatility times, when everyone trying to save some money to reduce some costs. And the question, is the PM needed for a project team, is actual for now. As for me, I think that is wrong opinion to not try to add the PM for a dev team. It could take place in case the PM is one person from dev team that couldn't show them his result for a call, but client can see the PM's work. It's work in a case when all is good, deliver quality deadlines, and all is perfect and client happy. So when the PM works is doing great and all is going okay, client can see some work of PM. But when some gaps appears, when some problems appears, it's always the PM fault. So PM is visible only when something gets wrong, and the client should connect with the PM to solve the problem and to ask PM to solve the problem that we met. So yeah, as for me, my understanding of the PM role, for every project, so it's every project needs a PM, and every project should start from the PM. Project needs a PM because someone on project should solve all the non-development, non-technical questions and make dev team thinking only about the dev work, because there are a lot of communication with the client, a lot of work with the documentation, and as I previously said, that every project needs to meet all the commitments like deadlines, quality, and budget, like in a project management triangle. So in that case, project needs someone who will be responsible for it. Also someone needs to manage, to prevent or even to mitigate some risk, and had to be the connector between all the three project sides, like a client, project team, and the company. Also could be represented like a vendor, stakeholder, and a dev team, dev leads, to be someone like a center of decision and center of connection with someone else, and center of answer and excellence. It's very important. And in my opinion, dev team could manage themselves by their own, but it will meet some additional costs that PM could reduce, like working on it. So adding the PM to project is costs less than dev team managing themselves by their own. So the question appears after the team. So how exactly PM could save or even earn the money? To answer that question, I will start maybe from all the IT projects. So for now, IT projects tend to be complex, especially when these involve highly technical solutions and highly complicated processes with a big and complex team. Not a project like for 3-5 persons. Yeah, it's more for projects, for example, from 10, from 20 persons working on it, like development team, testing team, design, BA, and so on. And there are a lot of team members and a lot of processes that are under the shoulders of the team managers. And this is why it's always best to rely this work, like organizing these processes, and to organize all the team working on an experienced and highly competent IT project manager who can oversee the deployment of IT project. They could ensure like client's project on time and on budget completion. Like I told previously, to meet all the commitment on quality, budget, and deadlines. In addition, PMs can help save money of clients by minimizing wasted resources and implementing cost savings measures. For all that measures and some topics like how to save and earn money on every stage of delivery life cycle, we will talk now. So the first stage is a pre-sale. How the PM could save or earn money on the pre-sale. I've divided it into three tables, like for client, for company, and for project. It's 3 sides of project management work and 3 sides who is project manager communicating and representing there on the other sides. And we will go the flow of delivery lifecycle, like first of all, it's pre-sale, discovery, then stage of implementing, it's the main stage of project management. Then we will talk about the extending the account and support the account. And in the last one, we will talk about the, like how to save the project, like on a condition of volatility, like for now. It will be the last step of the speech, how to earn and save money for project manager. So yeah, the first stage, it's a pre-sale. It's unpopular now to connect project manager on the pre-sales process, but I think it's wrong decision. Better, as for me, it's better to educate PMs for the sales skills and connect them on a pre-sale process, especially for a big projects or a big group of projects. It's very important in the case PMCs the project from a business perspective and could find the future pain points or the existing pain points even better than a salesman could do. So on the pre-sale side, for client, it's better to have a project manager on a pre-sale process because PM could translate technical language into a business one and to collaborate with the client like on a business language and to describe all the needs and all the technical solutions better on a business language. It's project management or project manager on pre-sale side could provide a rough estimation of a project, how much the project could estimate on that side, and to define pain points and needs of the clients to help to define the pain points and needs with a salesman. For a company on a pre-sale stage, the PM could help salesman to sell the project, for example, to pitch some use cases from a company, to pitch some use cases from his experience, to share his experience for implementing some stuff for another project in a company, and to share his experience on a pre-sale stage to define some maybe pain points from another clients to that clients because we work on in one market. Also, for a company, we could understand the client's mood. So PM could understand the client's mood, for example, for collaborating, communicating with vendor company in the future. It's very important as for me. And for project on the pre-sale stage, PM could understand the project from the start. It will be better when the PM who is connected to the pre-sale process will continue working on it after the contract will be signed. So also it will help the project working with requirements. Like for requirements for documentation for all the project, and it will be better to form the recruitment requirements for the project because we will see, for example, if it's project starter project, we should define and add, for example, the team with a better soft skills than tech skills. And if it's, for example, an big enterprise project, we understand that we need really hard skilled persons to join the team, and it's the stage for project manager to understand it on a pre-sale stage. It's for an outcome on that stage for project manager work, it's a higher closure rate for the project because PM could explain it from the project manager side and from service delivery side how the project will work and how the company will deliver all the results for the client. The next stage is a discovery. So on a discovery, first of all, we need to identify all the pain points better. Yeah, we could also identify on a pre-sale stage, but on the discovery, we should talk about it a little bit longer and wider. Then from those data, from pain points, from business needs, from desires of clients, we need to create and propose technical solutions. Most software engineers in our IT outsourcing industry are not great communicators. It's about software engineers. They know their job. They're really hard skilled people, but they often can't explain some complex issues, some complex technical issues clearly and simply for understanding for a client, especially if a client is not a technical person. And yeah, in that case, if the client don't have a strong tech background, it I think it will be, and I'm sure that it will be a challenge to understand developers' language, technical language. When it comes to discussing the solution stack and development process, client probably needs somebody in our current variant. It will be a project manager who will translate that information, the technical information, into business terms, and vice versa. So project manager work, as we saw on the previous slides, works like bridges between entrepreneurs and developers. They convey your requirements, goals, and vision to a development team, and the requirements, goals, and vision from the development team to a client. So ensuring smooth and transparent communication, PM save tons of time, and time it's money, energy, and also the costs. On that stage, it's also for the client, PM organize the process, communicate with clients, and manage all the workshops. For example, sending the invites, communicating for the time slots, asking for some information by email or in a Slack, and so on. So like an operational process. Like I said, it's translate technical language into a business one, provide rough estimation, and define pain points and needs. For company on a discovery stage, PM works with a budget also, because for many companies, discovery it's also a paid service. So on that stage, PM works with a budget and reporting for a company of how the project and the discovery is going. Also understands the clients and already the team's model, because on the discovery stage also, as usual, connected like from company connects like a BA, a designer, and a solution architect, and already a small team who is working on discovery for that project. And the last thing for company, also not for much project, but also it could appear project manager could manage suppliers. For example, not the suppliers, like subcontractors and so on. For example, if you are using as a company a third-party vendor for a software project, for that also a discovery, a T project manager could negotiate for low price, because we are using a lot of clients, a lot of projects, a lot of people are using their software. So in that case, project manager could act like a negotiator for act a lower prices for that software. And it also could save some money for company and for a client in future. For project on discovery stage, project manager just like a managing team, control timeline and budget, helps discovery team to see bigger picture from a business overview, for a business side, for business perspective. Also for a project becomes a center of excellence, all the answers on the questions, all for a project manager, and could be could form the requirements for the team, as I told, for production team, for implementing stage, and for requirements forming for the project to help business analytic to form the requirements better. The next stage, it's a main stage, the stage of implementation of a project, when we collected all the requirements from the client. We created, for example, user stream map or feature breakdown list with all the scope that we defined for that stage of project. For example, it's a proof of concept or an MVP. We send a proposal is signed, and we should start working with the main stage, with the stage of implementing. On that stage, first of all, we are creating the team. We are interacts in recruitment process if the company doesn't have the resources to cover all the needs of the project, or trying to find in a company all the persons who will be involved in that process. But the main things on that stage that project manager are working on, it's a preventing time and cost overruns. It's plus for a company, exactly, not for a client. It's a company plus working with a project manager and also with a client, because all the overruns and cost and time overruns will affect on the bills, on the costs that will be sent to a client if it's a time and material project, or for a company if it's a fixed price. If we will overrun the budget, the company should cover the price. So yeah, the main things, it's a preventing time and costs overruns. So on that point, IT project manager helps save the money of a company or the money of a client, mainly by ensuring the project are completed on schedule. Delays costs money because each day of every delays or not meeting the deadlines makes the budget going down, and for all the sheets it's over budget. And when the project is going by schedule and it's on track, all is okay, the money is saved, and no one should pay more for it. So when the IT project starts and the deployment is going on time, immediately we are able to get back some money worth, because in that case, some companies are going to add the risk buffer. So in that case, we could save the risk buffer if we will go well and meet all the deadlines and schedule. Also, the main thing is to try to estimate project on a discovery phase. I missed it on the slide, to help to estimate it correctly, because if we estimate the project correctly, we won't meet the time and costs overrun. The next thing, it's all the engineers, all the dev team, it's not managers. They could manage themselves, but not everyone could manage all the team. I've seen all too often how they get lost in phases of project lifecycle, causing unexpected delays. It's also for not meeting deadlines, and the task of controlling expenditure, people, resources, and schedule becomes even more difficult if you hire a remote team, as we work in 2022. Almost of our team are working remote, and it's really hard to organize the team, and to manage it, because they are also working remote. We can hold regular online meetings, but we don't get the whole picture. That's why we need person like a PM who will be also responsible for meeting all the people working, and all the people are on workplace and so on. And also it's very important to maintain high level of productivity. It's also a benefit as for a company as for a client, because if we a productive team and we are working more than 100% of productivity, it will help us to meet the deadlines earlier and to save some money. In business, productivity tends to have a positive relationship with, as I told, profitability. Simply put, the more productive your employees are, the more profitable your business will be. The same principle applied to IT project deployments. The more productive your IT project is, the better IT system position will be to aid in raising your company profits. As from my experience, a good IT project manager can ensure that this happens by staying on top of your IT project deployments at all time. They will be also ensure that IT team is working relentlessly to bring your IT project, the client's IT project, to fruition as soon as possible. Additionally, PMs will be responsible for minimizing or better preventing work disruptions or meeting, as I told previously, some risks, so the client's IT project deployments will go without hitch. So it's some pluses for a company and for working with a project, and for a client it's also very necessary to control the scope creep. The clients, they're most of all, entrepreneurs sometimes change their requirements as the project evolves. They may want to add extra features to integrate more functions, or suddenly become upset with newly released technologies. So in such shifts results in scope creep or unwarranted growth of project beyond the agreed upon estimate. In other words, the development team gets more work, deadlines are destroyed, and up goes our budget. So, if I'm not mistaken, I read the Project Manager Institute survey before the call, and it shows that the scope creep occurs in more than every second project. So in every second project, it occurs in average for 50% of previously described proposal for all the scope. And in that case, we should control and manage the process of scope creep, for example, to create the change management list, change request list like in the Google Sheet, and go back to all the change requests after the finishing the main scope, or to change a relationship with the client for time and material, and to involve all the project team like a dedicated team, and to work with in a close relationship. And also for client on this stage, the project manager should work like a partner interested in a business extending. So as a project manager, like business consultant, should work with all the interests of a client, to work all the stuff the client wants to add for the business from the business side, and to fix it not to meet the scope creep. It's really hard work, but PM is here to make it. So PM is really needed. It's one more point for thoughts that PM is needed for every project. And exactly for a project, first of all, project manager enhance the project performance. In that case, PM working with people motivation, for example, it's a first thing and a long topic of people motivation, which PM should work in with. PM motivate the dev team and should help to create effective working relationships, ensure that all team members are working in the same direction, and thus increase development speed. PMs resolves issue before they get out of control and help to avoid conflicts, and also document and prioritize tasks to make work performance better, and keep everybody in a loop, providing transparency and ensure that everyone involved, all the stakeholders of the project, like client side, company side, and so on, to pursue the same goal. And it's a main stage of working of a project manager, and the main stage where the project manager could save the money. The next stage we will be talking on, it's an extending stage. It's not a stage of service delivery, but it's one of responsibility of project manager to work with. It's to always trying to extend the account, to enhance the client's business, to enhance the processes in the company, and to try to make the dev team work better. So on that stage, for the extending the account, it's a really important role of every PM should especially do for now time. From my experience, it's really a risky job, but it's really necessary. As for me, the account extending and all the account management, it's the PM responsibilities, especially in the companies where there are no delivery managers. So many companies and PMs often hesitate that responsibility, and it turns in a bad way to them. So in that like a stage of a project, but that stage is starting from a pre-sale and never finish. So the responsibility of extending the account is always lays on a project manager role, and project manager should always keep in touch and keep his hands on pulse to understand where we could something to enhance and something to extend, like working with a client. So for a client, it's a process like to find some new solutions for business enhancement and to make more warm relationship with the company, because in that case, exactly in extending account to working more than is wanted from you as a from project manager, to be like a business consultant for a client, to provide him some more solutions and more advices how to make his business better. For a company, it's make more profit because in many cases of account extension, it depends on scope extending, and for companies it plus making profit to make more impact on the client, to make the client and company relationship more warmer. So in that case, it really meets pluses on every side, like for client, for company, and for project. So on that way, it's really underdog in our project management roles, because it's not a popular, but I think we should make it on higher positions. And the last stage of where the PM could save some money or to earn some money, it's a support stage. It's the stage after the project is developed, the project is sent, went to live and sent to a client. On that stage, on the client side, we could help with onboarding and support the solution. We could save some time and money when the client will be trying to understand how the product working and to onboard by himself. On that stage, PM could help him working on its stage with onboarding and supporting. For the company, its ability to get back to a client, because we always like PM and client always keep in touch and trying to identify some more opportunities to work with, and we are always keeping in touch with the client and always ready to get back to a client with the new solutions, with a new proposals. So we are always communicating with him. And for a project, it's always to be in project, to see all the things that are changing in a project to be done for client, and to be always in touch with the technical side, and always to be in touch to propose something and to trying to maybe to extend, to make more project scope, or to make new even project with the client after finishing the supporting. So yeah, and the last stage, the last role that is actual for nowadays, it's saving project. So as for now, many clients are thinking about maybe to reduce costs and to reduce the relationship with the vendors, with IT outsourcing vendors, and it's really pity for all the IT outsourcing industry, because there is a recession in USA, and everyone trying to reduce costs and to trying to find some new ways to earn money. And on that unstable environment, we as project managers, we should work on always should be on in a short way with the client, and make, from my side, it's a 5 steps to try to save the project. It's first of all, it's always to be to keep the hand on pulse of client's business, to keep in touch with the client, always communicating, always asking how is it going, what's some news, what's a good news, what's bad news, and so on. The second one, it's feel the client's mood. So to make the regular one-to-ones calls with the client, for example, like once in 2 weeks, once a month, depends on a size of project. The third step, it's control client's income, not control like be in a accounting system, but to understand where from the income is forming, for example, from investments, for example, from their turnover, and trying to be like in that stage like a business consultant to maybe to provide, to advise some steps how to increase the income, because the client's income also depends on the relationship with a vendor, like an IT outsourcing vendor. So in that stage, it's main thing, the main goal, to understand the size of income, and to, if it's not desirable income for a client, to provide him some advice from a PM side, from his thoughts, how we could increase it and how we could help to earn some more money. The first step is to keep actual backlog, product backlog or project backlog for X plus months, depends on a project size. For a big project, it's 6+ months, to make it also always actual for client, and for small project is, for example, 1 month forward. If you will also keep the product backlog for some months forward actual, it's will help us understand that scope we will also close, and then something could change. So if always the product backlog will be actual, the relationship with the client will not finish like rapidly. And fifth step, it's to help clients stay in water. It's like addition to the third step. It's always trying to help client earn some money, to find some new opportunities, to maybe to extend the product, to add some new features to products that could help him attract new customers to his product, and so on. To be like on that stage, like a business consultant for him. Yeah, it's really important. Even if you are not good in business, you're just good in a project management stuff, you could always advise something to a client. And the last one question for today, it's how to sell the PM. Because on the pre-sale stage, when you're selling all the team, the PM could even for now, yeah, when all the clients are trying to reduce some costs, could ask you, why do you need a PM, and how, in that case, the salesman or someone else should sell the PM to a client, to the project. So it's pretty easy from my side. It's a pretty easy description, not a pretty easy process, but the process has a look like, first of all, and the most popular way from my side, it's just to describe the PM role and how it impacts on project. Many clients, as I told you previously, even can't understand what the project management is, who is a project manager, and so on. In a global mind, it's project manager. It's someone who just creating and moving tickets from one status to another, and sending invites to calls. So in that unstable environment, it seems like a project manager is not necessary for a project, and on a stage of selling the PM, it's really necessary to describe the impact of PM role and his responsibilities for all the projects. It also depends on the project, but we need to describe it clear, like I've described in the current presentation. As a second step, it's business language. We need to provide some proven arguments, maybe even on financial results. We need just to show the case studies, maybe statistic from our personal or your personal experience, the results of working with PM in a team and without PM in a team. It's a main argument in the negotiation on selling the project manager, I think. When we follow the case studies and showing the future customer why the PM role is really important and needed. It's a second and third step, yeah. And the last step, it's showing the financials, yeah, what and how much will be in costs, all the management hours, all the Scrum activities, and we should show how will it impact and how much money we will save if we will add the project manager, and how money will be lost if we not add the project manager. Yeah, for 7 stages, that's it. And for all the presentations, the entire presentation, that's it. Thank you. And it's time to Q&A.
So a bunch of pretty interesting questions, and we have already got during your presentation. So thanks a lot for a handful of different insights and suggestions and ideas and your perspective as a project manager. That's a pretty funny thing to observe how the project management profession representative sees the same things that sales representatives or marketing representatives are dealing with every day. And we have a bunch of different questions that we got. So let's start with this one. So how could project manager extend the account he manages in the company?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's really an interesting question that we met exactly in our current days working with some of projects. So the main thing from my side, I think it depends on a project size and a project domain, and exactly on some condition working with the project. But the main like life hacks of extending the account, first of all, it's refactoring of the existing product that account has. For example, refactoring the code of another product the company of a client has, or to refactor, for example, some things that they already has. Second one is to advise, to provide, maybe to develop one new product or make some changes in existing product. You could make a survey in entire of your company, in entire the dev team that is currently working with the products of the client. For example, on a question of what the client should add to his product or what the client should remove for the product to make it better, to enhance it. Yeah, and from my experience, many of the project team could advise some really good advices to extending the account. And also you could, in the best case scenario, if the company has the expertise like an INSART, you could advise to become a product partner for an account to form the scope from your side, like from industry expert, and to help client meet his business goals, not only the technical goals. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, thank you for a pretty detailed and thorough answer. So another question we have is, if the PM who works with the client on pre-sale cannot become the PM on the project itself, how much will the project lose from having another PM here?
From my side of experience, it's not a big loss for a project, because the pre-sale phase, even for small projects, it's not a long phase. From my experience, it's 1 or 2 calls connecting with client, with a future client. Yeah, it will be better if PM will join the pre-sale process, but it's from my side, from my perspective, it's not necessary for small projects. For projects, for example, for 3-5 months of work, but if it will be a projects, big projects, for example, for involving all the dedicated team into a client side and working 1 year and more, in that stage, the pre-sale phase will take a lot of time, and in that stage, it will be better if the PM on a pre-sale will be joined on another stage also.
Totally makes sense. And here's another more fundamental question, like the holy war-based one. So what is the difference between the project manager and a team lead? And is there a significant difference at all? And maybe you can provide any advices on what to start learning to become a project manager.
Yeah, there is 3 questions in one. First of all, the difference in a PM and a team lead is really big. So a project manager is it's a business representative or a project who is communicating with a client, communicating with a company and a team, and the team lead, it's more technical person who is more involved in technical details in a technical solution that is creating in a project, and also he is responsible for advising all the dev team how to work with some type of codes, for example, some type of solutions, and he is responsible on a level of a dev team. But a PM is responsible of a level of a company and a level of a client. So it's like a more zones of responsibility and more zones of involvement. Yeah, it's more about a second question too. And the third question, is there any advice on where to start learning to become a successful PM? Yeah, from my side, as from my experience, the best way to learn a PM, it's a practice way. So you could also spend a lot of time learning some guides, some courses, some certifications, but even if you never tried to do a PM, like a PM, soft side of PM, of communicating, of leadership, of creating the team, organizing the team, of a soft side only, it's really hard to make it after a long time not having a practice. So the first thing, you should start learning the soft skills that are needed to PM. It's also a soft one. At communication, it's in English. If you're not English speaker, it's leadership, team organizing, and so on. And as for hard skills, hard part, it's also a Scrum methodologies, it's Agile, it's tools like a Jira. You should define how to work with it. And I think that's it. But the main thing for a PM, it's a soft side.
Okay.
It's more important.
Okay, thank you. And one last question we have is, technically it's the pre-question to the one we have already answered, but still, why may extending the project be a risky task, and what risks does this stage involve?
Yeah, for the first question, why the extending project will be a risky task? Currently on that time where everywhere is a recession, and all the advices to extend the project will be really risky, because the client could not meet all the desires that the company could present good advice for client, and it will be risky on that stage that it may be declined. First of all, because it's really unstable time, and the second one, it will be risky not for all the stages. If we will advise the client something to stay in water and something to enhance their current processes, it's okay. But if we will advise something to increase the scope, increase the costs without earning some money for the client, it will be risky, because it will be like the client, and some relations with the client could be lost in the current stage.
Okay, got it. These were all the questions we had for you, and thanks again for an awesome presentation. That was incredibly interesting and thorough material, and thanks for joining us, and thanks for participating.
Yeah, thank you too.
Hey, dear friends, so this was the last lecture we had for today, and this is it for our first Smart Club event. We did not have them for a pretty long period of time, and we are happy that we had such speakers as the ones who did a rewind of this event. We're not saying the full goodbye to you, because in a pretty small period of time, pretty soon, I believe in the beginning of the next year, we will be back with new interesting events and new interesting materials. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we're posting lots of pretty awesome materials, insights, podcasts, etc. Find us on LinkedIn, find us on Twitter. We are named as INSART, and also visit our website, insart.com, if you want to get a new development partner for your business or your project. Thanks a lot for joining us today, and see ya, and have the best time of your life. Bye.